Hey everyone, welcome back to the LeadHER network. In this episode, we're joined by one of the most decorated players to come out of Eastern Pennsylvania youth soccer. Gina Lewandowski is an Eastern Pennsylvania youth soccer alum and an ODP alum. She's a two-time Patriot League Offensive Player of the Year and is one of the most accomplished athletes in Lehigh University women's soccer history. Her professional journey took her overseas to FFC Frankfurt and Bayern Munich before returning stateside to compete with Gotham FC. After joining the coaching staff at her alma mater in 2022, she now brings her experience and passion for the game to Notre Dame University as part of their women's soccer program. Welcome to the podcast, Gina. Thank you so much for joining us, Gina. We're so excited to have you as our second guest on the Lead Her, I guess we can say podcast. We're going with
Yeah, we're
podcast.
going podcast.
Yeah. We're super excited to have, an Eastern Pennsylvania youth soccer alum, ODP alum, come in and talk about your journey from Eastern Pennsylvania youth soccer up to Lehigh and then to the pros. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. The first question that we have for you, we'd love for you to discuss your experience growing up and playing in Eastern Pennsylvania. Like Morgan had mentioned, you played ODP, you played club, and also played locally collegiately at Lehigh. And how have those experiences, shaped the player you were and prepared you for your professional career?
Yeah, I think, for me growing up, I was extremely active, playing multiple sports, not just soccer, played basketball, volleyball, cross country. I just was an individual that always seemed to stay busy. I think my parents too just wanted me to kind of be involved as much as possible. I think for me too, it was like a lot about the community and the friendships that sports brought for me, and just being able to stay active and compete with my friends. And yeah, I always dreamt about possibly playing soccer, a sport long term. But I think for me, it was just, okay, I need to find an environment and community where I'm enjoying the sport, I'm having fun, I feel supported, I feel valued, I'm getting better and I'm challenged. And, I went to St. Mike's growing up, middle school, played CYO basketball, CYO sports. Then I went to Central Catholic High School. I played basketball and soccer there. So I kind of solely focused on basketball and soccer, had amazing, career basketball and soccer there. Really set the foundation for me to get to the next phase of my life at Lehigh. But soccer wasn't maybe as there weren't a lot of opportunities, to play back in the day. For me, it was kind of like, okay, do I stay locally on a team here in Lehigh Valley, or do I travel down to Philly? I didn't really have like the means and the support, financially. For my mom was a single mom, or single parent, so stayed local. But for me, it was about staying with my friends. I knew that as long as I was enjoying the game, I'd grow no matter what. And that was for me important in my development as a player, but also as a person.
Yeah, I think it's special what you talked about the like you'd never specialize just in soccer, and I think that that's like really apparent in the game today. A lot of players and parents feel that moms and dads feel that they may need to specialize their child, and we find and you see like you yourself, you went through the loving basketball all the way up until probably you went to Lehigh and playing, and
Yeah.
I think it's important for people to hear that, and that was kind of the direction that your childhood and your experience went in, because in the culture today, I feel like there's this single sport specialization that might be limiting both, you know, mentally, physically, to our players. And, you've been able to climb the ladder to the highest level and in both America and in Europe, as a player. And that was your experience. So thank you for sharing that, because I feel like that's going to be really
Yeah.
important for people to hear. I get that question even sometimes as a coach from parents. So
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of parents are asking me too. What do they do? Especially like the development and recruitment phase. As a college
mm,
coach now, parents, even players are asking me, what do I do? How do I do it? And I said, stay in as many sports as possible. Develop your athleticism.
yeah,
The skills you learn in one sport is so translatable to the other sport. And it's only going to make you a better all-around athlete, which will help set you up for success in whatever sport you do specialize in. And burnout, right? Burnout's real. Injuries are real. So it's how do you stay active in multiple sports, find that love and joy for each sport, but also like train different muscle groups, different
Yeah.
tendons, ligaments, hand-eye coordination. Also, like you said, the mental toughness is huge. The resiliency. How do I learn from failure, setbacks? Playing a multiple sport that has multiple people on the field versus like tennis. Like you can learn so many different things. If you play tennis, it's a single sport, single person sport. You learn a lot about accountability and owning your mistakes. And also too, when you get to a sport that has multiple people on the field, like you have to work about how do you do teamwork, how do you support each other, also own your mistakes. But there's a lot of things you learn in each sport that are super translatable. And that's the part I think most people miss out on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So you kind of touched a little bit on just your time at Lehigh, but I guess for us, why did you choose to go to Lehigh and what made it a special place for you to continue your soccer career?
Yeah, I think for me, academics has always been a huge, huge part of my life as well. I wouldn't say I was like a straight A student, but it was something that I always valued. I knew I couldn't play soccer forever. So I really was looking for a school that had that mixture of both high academics and the high athletic programs. I did also kind of want to stay closer to home. I didn't really want to go West Coast. I didn't want to go to the South. I want to stay in a driving distance where I could share my journey with my family and friends. Like I wanted them to come. I wanted the support. I honestly didn't go home a lot my freshman year, but I wanted to be able to have that choice, that opportunity to be close enough to home to go home and also have that support from them. But I think for me, I did look at a lot of the Patriot League schools because they had that mix. And I also didn't want to go to a super big school. I liked the smaller community that Lehigh offered as well. A very close-knit community. The class sizes weren't super big. So the public schools were kind of too big for me. I did look at some schools there. But I think everything that Lehigh offered was something I was looking for, from the academics to the soccer program to the distance, the community that it offered. And yeah, so I was really happy. And once I stepped on campus, I knew it was going to be the place for me.
While at Lehigh, did it ever occur to you, like when during your time at Lehigh did it hit you like, wow, like I may be able to keep doing this, like go to the next level? And like, did you have someone specifically helping you through that, or was it just something that you were just like hitting your stride, like your coaches were putting you in all the right places, doing all the right things? Like what kind of helped at Lehigh helped you get there?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I was fortunate to play
Yeah.
most of my career, which was awesome. I know not many people have that opportunity to do so, but our coach at the time, Manny Ewing, was really trying to change the program. He brought in 11 freshmen or so, and maybe like 6 or 7 of us started. So it was awesome to be able to feel supported and connected right away to a program. But I would say, I also lacked a little bit of the self-confidence in my career. And I think being around a team and a coaching staff who really, and my teammates too, they all saw something in me that I necessarily didn't see in myself, and would always kind of encourage me and support me and continuing to play. And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, and didn't really think about it too much. And then we had a coach, Mary McVeigh, who went to Iceland for a little bit for, I wouldn't say like half a year, but she played overseas and kind of like put that idea in my head. And I was like, oh, okay, it's something I could possibly do. I always felt like I needed to, after college, like I always felt like I needed to get out of my comfort zone, like with or without soccer. Like I just wanted to be able to grow, expand my horizons. It's kind of cliche, but like I wanted to get out. I only knew Lehigh Valley. I only knew Lehigh. And I just was like, okay, what do I think? What do I believe? Not what do my friends believe, my family. Like I wanted to kind of really go out and explore. And so she kind of always had put that idea in my head. And then I went to travel to Germany to visit. I have relatives in Frankfurt over winter break with a teammate of mine. And it was after my senior season, but right before my spring semester senior year. And after that trip, she's like, "Why don't you come to Germany?" I was like, "What? Like, I can't play in Germany." And what does that mean? And who does that? So I don't know. She's kind of sparked that idea in my head, and we just started to inquire about different opportunities, and connect with my family, and just like, all right, let me try this. Let me try this for a year, see if it would work for me. There was no professional league in the States at the time. All you could do really is play WPSL, summer league, teams. So I did have a place to go in that summer following my senior year, but then I connected with family and they said, "Hey, we got you a contact. We got you 3 tryouts. Pack your bags, come over next week." I'm like, "What?"
Oh my gosh.
So it's kind of like, all right, this is what I want to do. I would at least want to try it. I'd regret it if I didn't do it. And after spring break, packed my bags, and got on a flight and kind of took a leap of faith. And it was, yeah, it was just
what a
amazing.
support system. That's awesome.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. I guess that kind of leads into our next question is, so you played professionally for over a decade in Germany. Is that correct? What was that experience like? Obviously coming in, at least you had some family and some sense of connection, but was there like an initial culture shock of the playing style, or just in general, what was that early phase of your career through that decade?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a total 12 years, so a little bit over a decade, which is wild to think about. But I mean, it was an unbelievable experience. Now that I think back on it, I was how old are you? 20, 21 when you leave college, and for me, yeah, it was quite the ride. I mean, I think there's a level of being uncomfortable, culture shock, language barrier. I did have a support system with my family. I did live with them for the first 5 years out in Germany, which was amazing. Tremendous help in my transition, the support as well. But I don't think I left my house in 2 years because I just, I wasn't comfortable. I would go to practice. I took a German class, an intensive course at the community college. So for me, I really wanted to dive into the culture, really understand the people, the language, and for that what you have to do, right? You have to be adaptable. You have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. It definitely took time. I wouldn't say I was perfect at first. I definitely went through my highs and lows. There were days when I wanted to leave, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Cried a lot, but you find ways and to handle the adversity of the challenges. It's like going to college too, and I had to learn a lot about myself as a person, as a player, my skill set, but also adapt to an environment that I needed to in order to be successful. And the game was 100% a lot different than college, especially at Lehigh. The game was a lot faster, speed of play, technical, tactical components of the game were much higher level. I had to think ahead before I received the ball. You had you had less time and space on the ball. So playing one touch, playing two touch. I think the skill set that I had, which they really liked, was the athleticism piece. A lot of Americans typically tend to be a lot more athletic than the Europeans, especially at that time. And we did a lot of lifting in college. So for me, I had that foundation, which kind of helped me stand out a little bit as a player there. The only thing that I really needed to focus on was my speed. My first 5, 10 yards or meters, they would say, and my agility and quickness. So that was something that they really we dived into when I was there my first couple months. But two, I think what Lehigh really set me up to, they gave me that foundation of the character piece that you really need in order to play at the next level or just any level. And it's being adaptable, it's being coachable, it's taking in information, learning and growing and trying to receive as much as you can. And I was really blessed to have that support system, not only at college, but also like when I got to Germany as well.
That's wonderful. Yeah. It just sounds like, the things that you're hinting on and touching on is just, it's all like the human aspects of the sport, having the support culture. Obviously, like you said, you had to work on some of your physical aspects as well. But I think the thing that I'm gaining from it is like the people around you, the opportunities. And I'm now as a technical director, but as a coach myself, something that's really interests me is like the tactics and that side of the game. You kind of hinted at it. You played in Germany, you played at clubs like Bayern, but then you also played here once that professional system did get in place here in the US in the NWSL, and you played at Gotham. Was there a transition piece, like tactically or technically? Like, what kind of is the difference that stood out for you in the European version of the game, German version of the game versus here in the US?
Yeah, there was quite a transition for me there too. I think in Europe, yeah, the focus was a little bit more on the technical, tactical piece as well. So you play a team, so anybody, it was anyone's game basically. So like the lower tier teams, they would use tactics as a tool to try to beat the better teams. So
Didn't
they'd
take
pack,
everyone seriously.
yeah. So it's like, all right, how do we stay compact and kind of prevent the other team from breaking us down? And they were very good at that. When I got to the US, the game was a little bit more transitional. There wasn't a lot of possession throughout the game. The Americans or the US League was able to use the athleticism piece, the speed, the strength, a lot of 1v1 duels, being able to break opponents down. And it was tough to I wouldn't say, I guess my first year, we didn't possess a lot. I was on a team that maybe wasn't as good as the rest of the league in the NWSL. So, we definitely grew over time, but it was definitely more transitional in the US versus like the more possession-based tactical piece
I
in
think
this
that's like a spot on
W.
representation of like the women's game even now, and you see it transitioning in like the most recent Olympics and World Cup, and how the US performed in that World Cup. I think that was a really good visualization of like what you were talking about. And our tactics weren't up to the teams that could now break us down because they had that athleticism and they had the pieces that have always been there in the foundation, but now could break it down. And then, Emma Hayes came in and it kind of looked like we changed to that kind of style a little bit. So the way you were saying that really just, I thought it was a good representation of, you know, women's soccer in America now. I mean, college soccer is really transitional. You know that. So I think that it's one of those things that, as a coach, it's just interesting to hear, and hopefully other coaches listening will hear that and think about their teams and how they want to coach them. Because it's about the people that are out there too.
Yeah.
What they have in front of them sometimes is limiting. But
Yeah.
as a Division III coach, I knew transition worked really well for us because I had some fast players and we could be a little more direct because of that. But it doesn't mean it's an ugly style of play. It doesn't mean it's the wrong thing to do. And that's why the game is so great because it can be played in a
Oh
million
yeah. Yeah.
different ways. And I'm sure you've played in a million systems, a bunch of different positions, a bunch of different
Yeah.
things. So I think that that's important for people to know and understand and hear too, is like, it's okay if your daughter or son even is getting placed somewhere different or their coach sees something a little differently because that's the
Yeah.
game. And
Yeah.
that's the cool part
Yeah.
about it. So thank you for sharing that. I want to ask about.
Yeah, so I think I already know the answer to this, but just to tell the so after
Give
you
the people what they
retired,
want.
what made you want to go back to Lehigh and kind of step into the coaching role at Lehigh with Lauren?
Yeah, I think for me, I always had a passion for coaching, giving back to the younger generation. I personally didn't have a mentor growing up, and I just loved doing a lot of soccer camps and clinics. It was, good source of income back in the day as well, summer job. But for me, I just really enjoy being around the game, sharing my experiences. And when I was in Germany, I was able to get my B license, my UEFA B license. 2018, I believe. It was in German, so I passed, but it was, a little bit of a challenge. The verbal test was a challenge for
If
me,
you don't
but
mind me interrupting, how many women were in that course?
two,
You included?
yes,
Okay, cool.
yeah,
I just
just two, and then I think there were like 12 guys. So, I know, but
All
I
right.
think it's
We're
definitely
getting
growing.
there.
So that was very exciting. And then when I came back to the States in 2019, in 2021, the NWSL offered a B license course for all players, former players and present players. And so I jumped on that immediately. I wanted to do the B license again in the States, but also from like the American perspective and US soccer, and obviously in English would have been nice. So I got to do that, which was definitely very eye-opening and very, I just love to learn. I love to grow, to see how you can teach and coach certain principles, styles of play, also leading the players, right? From a developmental, from a character piece too. And I think that was cool because in Germany, they didn't really focus much on that, which was interesting. They focused more on the game. And then in the States, it was more from like a holistic approach, which was really cool. And then yeah, I think, Lauren and I, the head coach at Lehigh now, we had always, we played at Lehigh together. We always stayed in touch. We always kind of shared both of our experiences. She was at the collegiate level for 6 years prior to that as an assistant coach. I was, obviously playing at the professional level, and it was interesting to see and kind of connect and share our experiences together from, different parts of the game, but in different levels. And, I kind of knew soccer was coming to an end in 2022, and just always kept in touch with her. And she assumed the head coaching role, and she reached out and was like, hey, do you want to be my assistant coach? And I was like, let me think about that. My contract really ended at the end of the year, but then I really reflected on where I was in my life and my career, and knew that this opportunity, sure, timing sometimes isn't great, but it was perfect timing for me at that point in my career. And so I really just jumped on it, retired early July of 2022, and wanted to come back to a place that was also extremely influential in my career as a player, but also as a person. Kind of gave me that foundation and set me up holistically for the next phase of my life. And yeah, coaching with a great friend of mine, was really enticing and encouraging. And being back home was also great to be back in my hometown environment. Being around friends and family again was just really exciting after 15 years of being away. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of pieces to that, but just being back and believing in a program, because I do think Lehigh has a lot of potential to help grow the game and young women.
Yeah, that. I mean, I think what you hinted at was like that cultural piece
Mhm.
um, that is so important to players' development. For you specifically, you probably saw it where it was really up close and personal and put in the forefront at Lehigh and other places, but then also maybe push back to the side because it's a professional setting and you're here to
Yeah.
work and right, like, but even at work, there's culture and things like that. But
Yeah.
um, that transition, obviously, you hinted at it and you spent so long playing. What was kind of the biggest learning curve, or maybe even just advice or something that stuck out to you that someone maybe listening to this that either have a similar trajectory of playing to coaching, or is just transitioning into coaching from I'm in this career and I love this and I want to get into this. So what kind of was, learning curves, things that stuck out for you going from one area of your life into coaching?
Yeah, I think any transition can be tough, especially when you're ending maybe one career and going into another career, and there's an identity shift there. It's like, okay, who am I now? I'm not a player in that sense. I can't find my fulfillment, find my identity, my value in like playing per se, like on the field. But shifting to a coaching role was just as valuable and just as fulfilling, because yes, I went through a little bit of an identity crisis, but it wasn't like anything that I wasn't prepared for. I think for me, going to the professional level, I tried not to put my identity in soccer. I found things outside of the game through my support system, my community. I'm big into my faith too. So, finding things outside of the sport to give you that full value in your identity, and finding your why outside of the sport and fulfillment and validation, and I think going into as a coach, sure, it was hard. It was a transition where I couldn't just focus on myself anymore. I had to focus on 25, 30 players as
Yeah.
well. And, each of them are people, individuals who have needs, wants, desires, and looking at it from a holistic view too, because I've learned so much in my career. Sports performance is a holistic approach. Like you're not, you have to nurture every aspect of your being in order to perform best in those different areas. And at the college level, like you do learn a lot. Are you as a coach, you have to wear a lot of different hats and have a lot of different roles, especially with the
Yep.
staff too.
Definitely.
We have a volunteer coach, we have a GA, but it's like, okay, how can I help these girls in a way that they need to, not only on the field, but off the field, in the different areas of their life. And it's been exciting. I've definitely had my ups and downs, like any transition, but I'm really grateful to stay within the game, within the program at Lehigh, and really just to support them in any way I can. But I think now that I'm like a year or two into it, I can kind of find my rhythm and my stride and know kind of what to expect. But Lauren, was super helpful and supportive and encouraging throughout the whole process. And, so that was definitely a blessing.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I guess that kind of leads into what's next for you. Like what can people who are listening today expect from you and to see out of you in the next year or two?
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, I definitely want to stay in the game. I, have that passion. That's what I told my girls the other day. I thank them because, leaving my professional playing career and going into the coaching world, I never would have thought I would have found so much joy and passion in something besides playing. And I think just being in this environment, coaching right now, they really sparked a joy, and I'm so grateful for them, for their trust, for their support, for their encouragement. In me, I mean, they've challenged me a lot. I told them, but they pushed me, right? You need to be pushed, you need to be challenged, you need to grow, and I'm learning a lot about them. And so for me, I know I want to stay in the game, coaching. Do I know what I want to do long term, what level? I don't know, to be honest. But I'd like to kind of just continue growing where I'm at, staying present, taking in as much as I can, learning, and sharing. And I did receive an offer to transition to another school, which I took about a couple weeks ago. So I'll be going to Notre Dame, and I will be coaching as an assistant coach there and doing director of ops as well. And for me, I'm stoked. I mean, it's bittersweet leaving the Lehigh Valley, Lehigh, my environment, my home, my comfort zone, but going to a program that is so well known, historic, has a tradition of winning and of excellence. And yeah, the support staff over there has been amazing, and I'm really excited to join their staff and just grow for me personally and professionally as a coach. And is this the next stage of my life? I will grow a lot. It's in maybe a higher level conference
Yeah,
as
we're
well.
thrilled for
So
you.
what?
Yeah, we're thrilled for you to be able to make
Yeah.
that jump. Like,
So
I mean, a female in the game going from professional to Patriot League to ACC.
yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So I'll be back visiting a lot, sharing my experiences with Lauren as well. But yeah, it's I just want to grow the game as much as I can. So and I told my Lehigh players, hey, you better not stop reaching out to me. I want to stay in contact. If you need anything, I'm always, right there. And
Keep
I
that
just want
network
to support
growing.
him. But
Keep that network growing.
yeah, yeah. So and getting more people in the game. I think there's more professional opportunities now than ever. The USL Super League, NWSL, more teams are joining the leagues, going overseas. There's opportunity, and I want girls to believe and know that they can do it if they want to.
For sure. And I think it's important that we continue to just share those opportunities with girls so they never think to themselves, like, I can't go to the next level. They should constantly want to be pushing the limits
No
and seeing how
ceiling.
far they can go.
Yeah, that ceiling, that
Yeah.
glass ceiling.
Yeah. This was great. Well, we are so happy for you. We might have to take a road trip.
Yeah,
to
9
South
hours
Bend.
only, right? Is that what you said?
Only, yes, it's easy.
It's
Yeah.
only 9 hours.
It'll be a fun. We'll listen to podcasts.
Yeah,
It'll
we'll listen to
be a
our
great time.
podcast. Yeah, exactly.
So we like to end every episode asking our guests the same question. So basically, at LeadHER, we believe in the power of women driving the game forward. We would like to end each interview we complete with the same final question. If you had to choose one word to describe women shaping the future of the game, what would it be?
I did have some time to think about this, so thank you. I would say just empowering.
Mm.
That's just a word for me that I know, wasn't really a word for women maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I think now more than ever, empowering is something that's becoming more of a norm for women, and just, the support women have for each other, but also the opportunity that is arising to get in any field that you want. You see it with the equal opportunity, the pay, the equity piece, and Title IX. And so, yeah, I think it's empowering, and I think the future is bright for
Yeah.
girls and women in sports.
Yeah, well,
For
we
sure.
know when there's people out there like you leading and empowering young women that
Yeah.
that we're gonna keep championing them and hopefully pushing our game forward and provide opportunities. So that it's true when you say that word, it is one of those things that
Yeah.
maybe it's a current buzzword, but it means a lot, and it's something that as we were potentially growing up as players didn't really think about to have that and to now have that opportunity to make that impact is really special. So we do appreciate, we know, now you're moving and you're busy and, you
Yeah.
took the time out of your day to speak with us. So we really do appreciate it. And we're so excited to see all that you continue to accomplish. We're so proud to be able to highlight someone who's come through the system of, Eastern Pennsylvania youth soccer and has gone to the highest levels and now is coaching at a very high level as well, and certified, licensed, but just also well-rounded and want to grow the game for the girls and women involved in it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great. It was great catching up and hearing about all the little updates and stuff. We really appreciate this, and we can't wait to share it with our Eastern Pennsylvania youth soccer community.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much
well,
for having me, and thanks for doing this. I think it's huge. Keep doing it. I love it. I'll listen,
thank
I'll
you.
share it. And I think it's so valuable for today.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you again.